Hello, assalamu alaikum everybody. Hope you're all safe, sound, and healthy. And I'm back because there are a few ridiculous things that are going on all over the world once again. And especially in Pakistan, obviously, where else? That I have to comment on before I, go ballistic while just thinking about it over and over again, or, just at the end forgetting all about it due to enforced dementia. First of all, the Israel Palestine war, which I know the Western world likes to call a conflict, but it's actually a war. And it's a war that was instigated and financed by the Western world, by the NATO allies. And funny enough, the now the airports are closed down, and the Israeli army has suffered a huge loss and defeat and damage at the moment, which is, as I said before, kudos to the Palestinians for looking for a way and striking. Okay. And on the other hand, we have Pakistani cricket team, being threatened. And remember when the Indians sent their agents to attack the Sri Lankan team in Pakistan when Pakistan was supposed to host the World Cup at that time. The Western world, worked as a team with India to force Pakistan to no longer host the World Cup, and they declared Pakistan unsafe, if you remember. And then, very conveniently, India got to host the match later on and earned billions, obviously, in revenue. That huge loss that was deliberately meted out towards Pakistan by America, Britain, Australia, India, that collective efforts by them. The reason why one would find it highly ridiculous and hypocritical is after that in South Africa, if you remember, there were threats before when South Africa was supposed to host the Olympics, but suddenly all the politicians from all these same Western world countries, they suddenly decided to hold hands in the most cartoonish fashion, most ridiculous fashion ever, and say, "Oh, we stand together. Oh, we stand together. We will not let South Africa suffer." Because of that, the Olympics will go on, and again, we have it right now in India. Pakistani team is being threatened, and somehow nobody is talking about how Pakistani team needs to withdraw and how the matches should no longer be hosted in India, and that they should be hosted in a safe, neutral country like Dubai, like how they did with us in Pakistan, and they have been doing since then for a very long time. So here's the sheer geopolitics, that I talk about, that the countries that are always involved in these geopolitical situations, these geopolitical hypocrisies, usually and almost always generated by America and England and their allies. And by allies, I don't mean those who think of themselves as allies, No, I'm talking about their actual allies, their actual, partners in crime, their NATO allies. So, I mean, highly ridiculous. I think Pakistani team should have no question whatsoever. There should be no debate whatsoever, and it should come back. Pakistani team itself should declare India unsafe, and it should come back. But I mean, you see, this is the ridiculous of the situation. People may think that Pakistanis are, a very, very kind, generous, and wise. I think this is sheer stupidity. Okay, and I think it goes against all alleged patriotism that Pakistanis always seem to allege to have. I've never seen any Pakistani being a true patriot, because this is a very good example of that. If they were really patriotic, they would say, you know what, screw it, we're not staying in India. India is not safe, and they would leave. But at the moment, people are actually, voicing this thought, I'm sure. I think many people have raised their concerns and they have asked that Pakistani team should be brought back, in the face of these threats. But here we go. I don't see anybody else saying that. I don't see anybody else because again, we have traitors in the government, we have people who have worked with India to undermine Pakistan in the government right now. So, what do you expect? You know? On the other hand, we've got this highly ridiculous situation of Maryam Nawaz just not letting up. I mean, she's had one failed jalsa after the other, and I've just about had it with all the wastage. Obviously, "Pukhi di tir raji te kheo daan lagi." This is a very old Punjabi saying that we have, that when a poor girl from an extremely poor family, when she marries into a very rich family, then all she does is waste, because she's never seen these things in her life before. She's never seen money in her life before. So now, she just starts throwing money all over the place, and she doesn't have any sense of what is crap and what is worth spending money on. And so she just starts spending money like water. And that is exactly what Zardari and family and Sharif and family have always been doing. And Maryam Nawaz is a classic example. All the plastic surgeries that she's ever had, can you believe it? State money. Yes, it's all state money. It's all our money. She's used our tax money to get all her plastic surgeries. She's used state resources for all the jalsas that she's ever had. Not just her. I mean, obviously, she's learned this from her father, right? Kids, they learn it from their fathers. So like how Bilawal learned from Zardari to use our treasury, to use the money from our treasury, to get anything he wanted when he was living in the UK. He couldn't be bothered to study, but he was living lavishly, and he kept asking the then Prime Minister, Gilani, to send him money, for all his wants and his needs. And where do you think Gilani sent that money from? The treasury. And same as with Maryam, the cars that she booked, which was illegal, the gifts that were given, that she and her family just sold. How is it that nobody's talking about those gifts that were sold? Those gifts that belonged to the state or should have been auctioned. They were sold, not auctioned. They were sold at high prices, and or they were used personally in such a way where they were given to other people where it was illegal, other people within the family. And now she's once again, as we know, she has had one public gathering after the other. By the way, a public gathering is what we are calling a jalsa in Urdu. So she's had one public gathering after the other, and each of them have been colossal fails. Okay, she's been addressing empty seats. Okay, she has always chosen the smallest and the tiniest of streets, and angled the cameras in such a way, and never allowed drones, so that it should look as if it's packed, but they're literally just a few hundred at most. And in the last two jalsas, she didn't even have a few hundred, I'm sorry to say. They were literally tens and twenties in number, and they were their own people, their own immediately involved people, you can say, those who were probably involved in the preparation of the gathering and all. And yet once again, she's using state resources to do yet another public gathering right near where I live, by the way, in Lahore, right next to where I live. And once again, she has taken a ground, and this time obviously she's thought that if she changes the seating arrangement, then later on, if it becomes another failure, she can just call it a corner meeting. You don't do corner meetings in open plots, and by plots I mean lots. Yeah, in America you call them lots, here we call them plots. These are empty grounds. So yeah, it's weird. She's actually now she's basically set the chairs up like we do in a wedding, or in a small social gathering, which we do in a small intimate party. For example, we have round tables and you have chairs around them, so so that later on, as I said, she could declare it a corner meeting when it comes out to be a colossal failure. And again, as I said, state resources are being used. State money was used, our money, our tax, which they've been doubling and tripling and quadrupling these past few days. That's all being used in that. State cars have been used, to move stuff. The flags that they have put all around the chairs and the tables, and they filled the whole ground with flags because they know nobody's going to come who's going to hold the flags. So they filled the ground with flags in such a way so that at night, because that's one of the reasons they're doing the gathering at night, is they think that they can hide the truth, and they can use trickery or graphics, or camera play or anglings in such a way, that they'll turn on all the lights really high and bright, and you will see flags everywhere, and you'll think, oh, there are people everywhere, everybody's seated, there's so many people, but it's all empty seats. Remember that. It's all empty seats with flags. And for the catering, again, she has used state resources to bring in the caterers, to bring the food, everything, every single thing, state resources. Even the water was brought in by the Lahore waste management tankers. And, they were, in the most stupid, ridiculous way, they were trying to hide their license plates, by covering them with sacks and cloths, pieces of cloths and stuff. It's ridiculous, and you could obviously see that it was a Punjab government owned vehicle. Similarly, a Punjab government owned tractor was also used to bring in stuff. The furniture was brought in, again, using state vehicles, state owned vehicles, government vehicles. So again, wasting our money, just to do her 2-bit gathering, and once again it's going to be a failure, I can tell you right now, because there's a lot of movement on the roads. The traffic is not disturbed, and they are not even now trying to disturb the traffic because they know how pissed off people are. So they're actually very secretly preparing for this gathering. They're going through back roads and stuff like that. Imagine that's how scared they are. They know it's going to be a colossal failure. So these are all the ridiculous things that are going on both in and out of Pakistan at the moment. And Nawaz Sharif is, as usual, talking BS about how he's going to fix the economy. And, hello, you were the ones that ruined the economy. And when Imran Khan was fixing your shit, you came back, and in the past 16 months, you blew everything back away. And now you're saying that you want to start from where you stopped? Seriously? Like, how much more further down do you need to go? How much more do you need to destroy our economy? You're saying you want to start over from where you stopped. Look at where we have stopped. Look at where your brother, the ex-Prime Minister, Shahbaz Sharif, look at where he just stopped. Look at the dollar rate. Although the dollar rate is actually not as high, it is actually controlled, but they're not letting it be controlled for us. It is, if you look at its actual value compared to the value they're forcing upon us, it's different, right? We're made to suffer. They're constantly increasing the taxes, they're increasing the bills, they're increasing, and they're Mariam obviously is now throwing her tantrums on the people by shutting off their electricity and their gas and water supply because she had a failed public gathering in Shadara. I mean, seriously, like, bitch, what's wrong with you? I mean, they're actually living under the delusion that they will soon own this country, they'll become royalty. What they don't understand is something I've repeated time and again, is that these are just hunting dogs. America or Britain will never allow them to rule this country. America and Britain are using them so that America and Britain can take over this country once again, just like how they've tried unsuccessfully to take over Afghanistan, and like how they have tried unsuccessfully to take over Kashmir, because India is right now preparing Kashmir to be the base for America, so that it can sit there and start waging war against China. I mean, look at how ridiculous and ludicrous America is. You can see how stupid a country is by the way its government acts. And you can see how treacherous a country is by the way its government acts. America is both of these, and so is Pakistan. So is Pakistan, because if we didn't have a treacherous government or a treacherous army or establishment, if we didn't have such stupid people, then we wouldn't be in the position we are today. So, stupid is as stupid comes. So yeah, the funny thing here though is you can see how hard Imran Khan worked at his time to pull together the OIC. The OIC was beginning to be a joke before that. And the fact that, when Imran Khan was prime minister, the way he pulled the OIC back together and he's like, get your shit together, people. I'm glad to see that even though Imran Khan is no longer the president of Pakistan, but the efforts that he has made, they are still, in effect today. The fact that Saudi and the OIC have, slammed Israel, instead of, being, silent like they used to do before, instead of betraying Palestine like they've been doing for, a number of years in silence, that is a good sign. Um, uh, you know, um, and obviously Nawaz Sharif is probably shitting in his pants because first of all, Nawaz Sharif and his whole government, their one of their main agendas is that they should force Pakistan, or steer Pakistan towards accepting Israel, which is again one of the reasons why America had to remove Imran Khan, because Imran Khan's stance was a pro-Palestine. And Nawaz Sharif has left London, and obviously, as we know, again, he will be touring through, or should I say, traveling through Saudi, and then from there he would probably come here, or maybe decide to visit Dubai or something, and then come here. I don't know. And remember that this public gathering, which Mariam is gathering today, right near where I live, at Toker, that is. That farce of a gathering is basically again sort of like a pre-welcoming gathering, in a great expectancy for her dad. It was like a ceremony before his arrival, sort of a thing. Stupid, highly ridiculous. And on the other hand, um, we have also this weird thing that's going on, is that another PTI core member is, I think, in made to disappear forcefully. So yeah, these are some of the fears that they are trying to pretend that they do not have. They're trying to overcome. The I mean, the this public gathering, which they're also trying to spread the rumor that this is actually a workers' meeting, because as I said, if it fails, they'll just neatly call it a workers' meeting. They've put lesser chairs than they are claiming, as always. They'll exaggerate the number of chairs and tables that they've set up. um, you know um, so these, on one side, actually they're blocking the roads, and they're doing everything possible to stop PTI supporters and voters from gathering, and they're trying not to, they're not even allowing PTI to do a public gathering, which is their right as a political party. On the other side, they're doing everything to facilitate their own gatherings, but nobody's turning in. And then there's also because, as I said, remember, I questioned the good faith of the establishment when they were trying to force Imran Khan to make a deal. And as we can see, there is no real good faith by the army or the establishment. They did indeed stop halfway through the ladies that were released. Some of them were again illegally detained. Uh, Alia is still detained. Sanam Javed is still detained. Khatija is still detained. Now Sadakat Abbasi, who they released at forcing him to do an interview at gunpoint. But because that interview could not be aired, it could not be broadcast because Dawn refused to broadcast it. Obviously, as I said, because it may talk about ethics and this and that, but the truth is, Dawn probably feared backlash. And also I think Dawn realized that Kamran Shahid is actually quite a popular anchor, and yet he faced heavy criticism by the people, and his reputation has gone down the drain because of the interview that he did with Usman Dar. So their own journalist, Dawn's own journalist, is, as I said, he's that two-faced Adil Shabazz, who nobody even likes because he does not have a good reputation as a journalist. He's known as one of those Lifafa journalists who are not, actual journalists per se, but they're, mouthpieces of certain government agencies or governments. And, the fact that he was doing the interview of Sadakat Abbasi, and also there are inside stories and rumors that he actually had the nerve to be abusive towards Sadakat Abbasi for no reason whatsoever. So he was, he thought that he would do this and he would gain more favors from the establishment and the army. I don't know. I don't know who he was trying to please and whose ass he was trying to lick. But he overdid it. He went overboard. And he got abusive towards Sadakat Abbasi, and the whole thing, just again, it went south at the end because Don, whose employee he is, refused to air that interview. And now, because that interview is no longer, it's no longer possible because, that has flopped. That whole scenario has flopped. So there are fears that Sadakat Abbasi is probably again kidnapped by the intelligence agencies because people do not seem to be able to find him again. They can't find his family members, as in nobody can make contact with his family members, and nobody can make contact with him. So there are fears that he is once again, he has been kidnapped by the intelligence agencies again because he did not make any statement against Imran Khan, and he's kind of stood his ground, and because their plan flopped. So there's that fear now. So yeah, these are all the ridiculous incidents as we can see going on all over the world and Pakistan, and that shows what we can expect in the near future. America has worked really hard to to ensure another world war, thinking that that will help them, it will help them gain more power. But I'm sorry, but this world war, although instigated and initiated and sort of brought to this point by America through the decades, it's going to prove to be America's own doom. Yeah, America's courting its own doom, it's courting its own demise, and so is its NATO allies. So America and Europe are going to actually go through, I can predict it very easily, they're going to go through huge crisis. They're going to suffer the consequences of this war. If and when this war becomes a full-fledged world war, which is what America is aiming for, this is going to backfire very badly on America and its allies, very, very badly. So with this, I'm signing out. Khuda Hafiz.